Hey, good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm John Robertson for Brett Baer this President's Day Monday. There are signs of movement tonight on gun control in the blistering reaction to last week's school shooting in Florida. President Trump is indicating he would be in favor of efforts to improve federal background checks for gun purchases. This comes as some of the survivors are making plans to go to the state capitol this week and march on Washington next month as they demand change. Correspondent Steve Harrigan starts us off tonight from Parkland, Florida. Good evening, Steve.
John, good evening. We got our first look at the accused shooter in court today. The 130-pounder was in a red jumpsuit, reserved for the most violent offenders. Appearing in court today for another motions hearing, 19-year-old suspect Nikolas Cruz kept his head down and said nothing. His public defender says Cruz will plead guilty to 17 counts of first-degree murder in an effort to avoid the death penalty.
Shame on you!
More anti-gun rallies were held at major cities across the country. Young people in Washington laid in front of the White House, demanding lawmakers intervene to stop gun violence. And students from Stoneman Douglas High School, where their fellow classmates lost their lives, have announced plans for a national gun control march in Washington, set for March 24th.
Our elected officials need to get together, overcome their political differences, and get some things done because they need to save the future of our country.
President Trump has scheduled a listening session to meet with students on Wednesday. Some survivors of the shooting criticized Trump's weekend Twitter attack on the FBI. Very sad that the FBI missed all of the many signals sent out by the Florida school shooter. This is not acceptable. They are spending too much time trying to prove Russian collusion with the Trump campaign. This, as the White House signals Trump would back congressional efforts to strengthen federal background checks for gun purchases. And Florida Senator Marco Rubio urged state legislators to consider so-called red flag laws that enable family members or law enforcement to have guns taken away from someone deemed to be a threat. But the family Nikolas Cruz lived with after the death of his mother last year told ABC's Good Morning America they saw no warning signs from Cruz.
Everything everybody seems to know, we didn't know. We had rules, and he followed every rule to the T.
Meantime, the number of warnings about Cruz that were missed continues to grow. Information that a social worker visited Cruz at home after he posted pictures of himself on social media cutting his arms and saying he wanted a gun. The social worker concluded Cruz was a, quote, low risk to harm himself or others. Some students here are still struggling to understand what happened.
I was with Meadow, talking to Meadow right before, the gunman started shooting. And it's, it is very sad, but at the same time, I know that she's in a safer place now, and the angels will be with her.
The school is expected to open at the end of this week for teachers. It's still not clear when the students will return. John, back to you.
Steve Harrigan in Fort Lauderdale, Florida for us tonight. Steve, thanks so much.